Wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat. Most people hear those words and imagine a life they never want to live. A life without adventure, without excitement, without stories worth telling. But this is the story of a man who spent 50 years living almost the exact same day, and somehow discovered something that most people spend their entire lives searching for. Every morning, his alarm rang at 6 a.m. A man opened his eyes, sat on the edge of his bed, tied his shoes, and made coffee. Steam rose from the cup as he looked out the window at the same quiet street. Then he left for work. The same bus arrived.
The same seat was empty. He sat down and watched the city pass outside the window. He entered the factory, the machines began humming, and another shift started. The clock moved slowly. Lunch arrived. He ate alone. Work resumed. The shift ended. He returned home, cooked dinner, washed dishes, read a few pages of a book, turned off the lights, and went to sleep. Then morning came again. The routine repeated. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Months became years. Nothing seemed different. Around him, the world was moving. Friends chased adventures. Some moved away. Some became rich. Some became famous. But every morning, he still woke up at 6. Coffee, bus, work, dinner, sleep, repeat.
People looked at his life and felt sorry for him. What a boring life, they said. Maybe not always out loud, but they thought it. They saw a man trapped inside a routine, a man who never escaped, a man who never did anything remarkable. Yet he never argued with them. He never defended himself. He never tried to convince anyone that they were wrong. He simply smiled. Then, one morning, something small happened. So small that most people wouldn't have remembered it an hour later. A bird landed outside his window. For the first time, he noticed it. The next day, he noticed it again. Then he realized something surprising. Its feathers weren't exactly the color he thought they were. Tiny patterns covered them. Details he had never seen before. And that realization led to another. How many things had he looked at without actually seeing? He started paying attention. The sunrise changed every day. Some mornings the sky was painted orange. Some mornings pink. Some mornings gray and quiet. Clouds never repeated themselves. The coffee smelled slightly different depending on the weather, the beans, the season. The bus driver hummed songs under his breath. Songs that had probably been there for years. Passengers aged. Children became adults. People he had watched from afar slowly changed before his eyes. And something strange happened. Routine stopped feeling empty. It started feeling detailed.
The factory wasn't just noise anymore. Every machine had a rhythm. Every process had a pattern. Every sound belonged somewhere. The workers around him weren't just faces anymore. Every worker had a story. He learned their names. He remembered birthdays. He helped newcomers when they were confused. He listened to their problems. He celebrated their successes. Years continued passing. The same lunch table remained. But the conversations changed. Young workers talked about dreams. Older workers talked about families. New parents talked about children. Then those children grew up. The table stayed the same. The stories never did. The same street remained. But every season transformed it. Spring filled it with life. Summer brought warmth. Autumn painted it gold. Winter made it quiet again.
It was the same street. Yet, somehow, it was never the same street twice. The same home remained, the same walls, the same rooms, the same window. But memories slowly filled every corner. The chair where he read books, the kitchen where he made coffee, the table where he ate dinner. Every room contained thousands of moments, none of them extraordinary by themselves. Yet together, they formed a life. As the years continued passing, the ordinary began to feel extraordinary. Not because life changed, because his attention changed. One day, while walking down a familiar sidewalk, he noticed a small flower growing through a crack in the pavement. For decades, he would have walked right past it. This time, he stopped. He crouched down and admired it. A tiny flower in an ordinary place. Most people would never have noticed it. But standing there, he realized something. The world had always been full of beauty. It had always been full of stories, full of wonder. He simply hadn't been looking closely enough.
The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary life wasn't always what happened. Sometimes it was how deeply you noticed what happened. The more attention he paid, the richer the world became. The richer the world became, the more grateful he felt. And the more grateful he felt, the more meaningful his life became. Years became decades. Decades became half a century. 50 years passed. One morning, the alarm rang at 6 a.m., just like it always had. Older hands reached over and silenced it. He sat by the same window. Sunlight filled the room. The same sunlight that had greeted him thousands of mornings before. Later, someone asked him a question many people had probably wondered for years. Do you regret your life? The old man thought carefully. He remembered the bird, the coffee, the bus rides, the factory, the flower, the changing seasons, the conversations at lunch, the people whose names he had learned. Then he smiled and said no, because he understood something many people spend their entire lives searching for and never find. Meaning isn't waiting somewhere in the future. It isn't hidden inside a bigger house, a better job, more money, or more excitement. Meaning lives inside the moments we usually ignore. Gratitude. Gratitude for the ordinary days. Gratitude for the unnoticed moments. Gratitude for a life that never looked remarkable from the outside, but felt rich beyond measure from within. Because in the end, he discovered that the secret to a meaningful life was never finding something extraordinary to look at. It was learning how to truly look at what was already there.